All right, this is pretty big news, quite honestly. So the FDA just approved the use of CGMs as over-the-counter. That means you can have access to a continuous glucose monitor without any physician involvement at all. Previously, you had to get a prescription or you had to go through a service that used a physician in the background to authorize this for you. And they've been relatively expensive. They've been, up to, a couple $100s a month in some cases. The prices have come down a little bit. I suspect the over-the-counter versions will be considerably cheaper. I talked to a CGM manufacturer at one point, or a company that was utilizing them. They said they cost about $10 to make. So, what is that going to be for the price point? I'm suspecting maybe something like $50, I would imagine, somewhere in there. So a lot more people will have access to these CGMs. Now, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? What are the likely consequences? Well, a lot of people within the plant-based community, physicians particularly, don't like this idea. They feel that people will unnaturally restrict otherwise, quote unquote, healthy foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, oatmeals, rice, things like that. There's people in the low carb community, obviously, are like, wow, this is great because, we're going to stop. It's going to show that if we eat rice and oatmeals and things like that, look what it does to our blood glucose. And, I think that one of the side effects that's clearly going to occur, I almost guarantee it, is the ultra-processed junk food manufacturers are busily designing foods that have a minimal effect on CGMs. I mean, this is what the food engineers will be doing. So there will be all this quote unquote CGM approved or CGM friendly junk food for you to consume, no doubt. And many people will do that. Now, again, this is one of the problems here. With knowledge, supposedly comes power, but also we have people that will just, continue to eat garbage, like the keto treats that went on to sort of impact their CGM. To figure out, what can I get away with? What kind of junk food can I eat to get away with so that my CGM doesn't do something unusual? I wear a CGM. This is my trace from last night. You can see I was pretty low, running into the 60s most of the night, which, obviously standard people say, oh my God, it's too low. Or, when you're on a more of a ketogenic style diet, you can handle lower blood glucose without the negative effects, I suppose. No symptoms of hypoglycemia, by the way, with blood glucose in the 60s, which is pretty commonly reported in a lot of people that do very low carb diets very often. But back to this point of knowledge, it doesn't change food addiction behaviors, right? You just replace one garbage food for the other, and this is what I've seen. We've had how many years have we had calories, on the labels? Not that everybody says calories are maybe not the best metric, but you already know that eating chocolate cake and cookies and ice cream is bad for you. I mean, right? I mean, it is. I mean, this is not a health food, right? I mean, if you have it once in a while, okay, but a lot of people consume that all the time. Now, if you have a CGM friendly version of cookies and ice cream and cake, people are going to be overindulging in those undoubtedly. Will that have a beneficial effect? Again, in my view, exercise. When I'm wearing this CGM, when I exercise very intently, when I tied the American record rowing a few weeks ago, my blood glucose hit over 200. There are examples of world-class athletes where their blood glucose can reach up as high as 400. Now again, is that pathological? Again, we don't really know. I suspect it's not. So I'm sort of cautiously optimistic. I mean, like I said, there are clearly outcome studies that show that non-diabetics, particularly obese people wearing CGMs, have a better outcome, less disease, improve glycemic control, better weight loss, better cardiometabolic outcomes, so on and so forth. So there is some utility here. But again, obviously the potential for abuse is quite high. I think you've got to address addictive behaviors in your relationship with food. That's why things like a carnivore diet can be so incredibly helpful, because you don't have to think about all this stuff. You just stop being addicted to it instead of gaming the system, because I see a lot of people will be doing that. I know the food industry, as I mentioned, will be producing products that are quote unquote CGM approved. We'll see with time. Let me know what you guys think about CGMs. Is that something you're interested in? If it were more affordable, would you consider wearing one? If you use one, if you've used one personally, what has been your experience with them? I've used, right now I have this Freestyle Libre 1 3, which has been, pretty good. I had some issues with it falling off because when I was, wrestling and stuff, you get pull-ups. I found ways to keep that on there. But yeah, this is an interesting time we live in. So eventually we'll have continuous cholesterol monitors and continuous insulin monitors. And we already have continuous ketone monitors. So I think the more we know, the more we know about this stuff, I think it's a good thing, because I think we are very much, I'm very much, I think a single blood reading is of limited value, particularly when you don't know what's going on throughout the day, as I've mentioned with cholesterol and many other things. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Good thing, bad thing, FDA approving it. We'll talk to you soon.